Hi, our next question actually is an email question, and it's about jury trials and being called to serve on jury duty. Now, a lot of us have certainly had that experience at some point in our lives. And Phyllis asked the question, do you have to do jury duty? So what is the answer to that question? Do you have to?
BJ?
Yes, you do. However, sometimes the court will work with you if you've been summoned and receive a summons for jury duty, and say you got a vacation planned or something. Sometimes you can call the clerk of the court that you've been summoned in, explain that to them. They'll take you off that term and put you on for the next term. So they'll work with you generally, but it's very important for the viewers to know that they need to do jury duty, whether they want to or not. You'll probably end up enjoying it. But without jurors, we can't try cases. And so it's very important that people show up and do their jury duty and their civic duty.
And you might mention also, it is a tremendous waste of time and a cost to the county when people don't show up. Right. One of the first trials that was called in Bibb County after the shutdown from the COVID-19 virus was a murder case. And on the first day of court, they struck a jury, put 12 in a box with 2 alternate jurors, and went home for the day to come back and commence the trial the next morning. And 4 people just failed to come back, and they had to declare a mistrial. Now, that was a tremendous waste of time and a waste of money for the county. So yeah, when you get a summons to be a juror, it is a summons to court. And I guess you can be held in contempt if you don't show up. But I think BJ's right. If you got some extenuating circumstance, you can certainly call the clerk of the court or go down there and talk to him. And generally speaking, even if you go and you're on a panel, the court will ask if anybody has any circumstance that would make this a particular hardship on them. And people get up, go up to the judge, and they'll explain that, they've got a vacation plan. They've already paid for a home at the beach, or they've got this or that, or they've got a loved one who's going in for surgery. And generally speaking, the court will excuse them from that term of court.
Well, now listen, recently I was called upon to be a part of a jury. I was not selected, but I did go. And went through the procedure and the process. I did. But to my surprise, I did not know this element was there. The people who were going to trial, they were in the room. They were allowed to see who would be selected as the jury. I was very, very surprised to see that. And it was an armed robbery case, but they were sitting right there looking at each and every one of us. And I was like, wow, I didn't know that was a part of the law. I never knew that.
Well, that's just the way it works.
But see, when you don't know, you just don't know. I just did not know.
What you went through, I guess, was the voir dire examination by the attorneys. And I can tell you a story. Years ago, a friend of mine was on the panel, and the panel, and it was a criminal trial. And the criminal defense lawyers almost always ask, is there anybody here who thinks, just from looking at my client over here, who's charged with theft by deception or whatever the crime is, thinks that this person is guilty? And there was one man on the panel. He's kind of a curmudgeon. He's known around town. And he raised his hand, and the defense lawyer said, yes, Mr. So-and-so. Do you have an opinion, or do you think that my client is guilty just because he's here in court today with me as his defense counsel? And the man said, no, I don't think he's guilty. I know he's guilty. And of course, he was immediately excused from the courtroom.
Oh, there you go.
Now, as far as we're concerned, it's tough to, when you do a voir dire examination, you establish some rapport with the people there. Yeah, the parties are there, the jurors are there, those who are going to be selected, those who are not going to be selected. Each side gets to ask a number of questions about the backgrounds and the possible bias or prejudice that any juror may feel. For instance, if it is a personal injury case from an automobile wreck, you would want to know if somebody on that panel had been in a wreck and had brought a lawsuit because of that, or if somebody had been in a wreck and been sued because of their having been in the wreck. So those are all fair questions, and the parties are always present.